I'm a person who believes in doing the right thing. Now, I know it might seem a bit funny to have a convicted felon give a speech about doing the right thing, but if you can stay with me till the end, it'll all come together. The reason that I want to share these stories with you is because I want you to be encouraged to do the right thing, to be reminded that you have the internal strength to do the right thing, and to be reassured that no matter what the fallout, you'll be fine. I had a very clear understanding that everyone deserves an opportunity to succeed in life. It doesn't matter where you were born, it's about where you're going, and that education is the key to being successful in that regard. That 20-year career of trying to make public education better is what led me to Puerto Rico. So in 2016, there was a new governor that had just been elected, and he had heard of the work I was doing on the island. I had been there for 10 years. And the governor-elect decides that he thinks that it's a good idea for me to be the Secretary of Education. And I think that's a terrible idea. The message of the Fiscal Control Board to the new Secretary of Education: right-size schools, which translated means close schools. And so I did. I closed 450 schools. And that, as you can imagine, didn't endear me to the community. Again, I thought I was doing what was right. We needed to optimize the resources available, and the best way to do that was to consolidate so that every student had an equal and high quality basic education program. And as if that weren't enough, 9 months into my experience there, Hurricane Maria hits, and 1,300 buildings are shut down. There's debris in the roads. We can't get to the schools to figure out how to assess the damage for weeks. Schools don't reopen really until the end of the school year, and at that, they don't have electricity. So at that point, I said to myself, how did I get here? Why am I here? What made me think that I could do this? And I was frustrated because it was a little bit more than I felt that I had signed up for. And I bet many of us here today have felt similarly. We find ourselves in situations where we don't know the right thing to do. The problem seems far bigger than us, and we're faced with a choice. What do? Do we stand up and leave because we don't like it, because we think it's too hard, because we don't know? Or do we buckle down and say, okay, well, I'm here and I'm going to do the best that I can, because I'm not the person who's going to turn and leave. And so I stayed. And not only did I stay, but I chose to fight. But what doing that involved was challenging the political structure and the political apparatus that was used basically as a payback system. And so I had to cancel lucrative political contracts that didn't yield benefit for students. I had to fire political appointees that didn't have the skill set to be in the job that they had been given. I had to normalize salaries. There were many, many things that I put into place that threatened the status quo. And the reaction was fierce. People made it clear that they weren't happy that I was undoing the systems that had benefited the adults and not the children. You now know things about my case that the majority of people do not know. Why? Because there was a gag order, and that gag order prevented me from disclosing the facts and talking to people publicly about what had really happened. And as a result, hundreds of thousands of people hate me. They all think that I was doing the wrong thing, when really, I was just trying to do the right thing. When I got indicted, things went from bad to worse. And there is no presumption of innocence in the American criminal justice system. When I went to report for arraignment in July of 2019, I was literally attacked by a mob outside of the courthouse. I was punched, I was kicked, I was spit on, I was cursed at. There was a hatred, and you could feel, I could physically feel it, and I felt scared and vulnerable. So at some point, I said, what am I going to do here? In order to not go to prison for the rest of my life, I'd be 75 when I got out, I would need to win 3 trials in a place where 8 out of 10 people believed I was guilty of something, even if they couldn't tell you what. And so I had a choice to make. Making that choice ultimately led me to federal prison camp Alderson. It was in that moment when I said, well, I'm going to just figure out how I can be useful here. I have to do something other than look for the reason why. And in doing that, I found that being a good person in a very bad place has an incredibly positive effect. And as time passes, our perspective changes and the intensity of our experience lessens. And one day you'll look back at what you went through and you'll say, wow, can't believe that I got through that. And then you'll be able to hold your head high and say, I got through it and I did the right thing. And that's something that no one can ever take from you.